Okay, we want to fix the front end on this Honda 700XX, so what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the stock A-arms and stock shocks on the front, which you can see on the left here, and we're going to put 3/4 inch wider Hauser Pro Series Sly Cast A-arms, and we're going to put some Elka Stage 5 shocks on as well. When you open the package with the Hauser A-arms, you'll see there's a hell of a lot of components in there. Don't be too daunted by this. We'll take you through now just how to set everything up. Most of these components go into the A-arms before you even get to the bike. We'll start with the lower A-arm. First thing we do is fit the grease nipples. Then we slide the sleeves into the needle bearings. Then we grab one of the dust caps and put some grease in there. And then we put the thrust washer in and slide it onto the end of the bearing. Do this with all 4 of the dust caps. So that's pretty much your lower A-arm done. Make sure you do that to both of the A-arms before you proceed. Next we work on the upper A-arm. Slide the bearing sleeve into the end of the A-arm, making sure that the top hole lines up with the grease nipple hole on the top of the A-arm. And then put the end cap on. Do this with both bearing sleeves for each upper A-arm. Next we put the grease nipples into the holes at the top, making sure they line up with the sleeve hole. And tighten them down. Then grease the bearing inner sleeves. Then slide the needle bearing sleeves in. Then just like the lower A-arms, put the dust caps with the thrust washers onto the end of the needle bearings. Roll the A-arm over and insert the Allen head bolts into the A-arms to seat the bearings. Then to the other end of the A-arm, place the Sly Cast cam in the hole facing outwards, making sure that you line it up at 0 setting to start with. And then slide the ball joint through the large hole in the cam. Place a backing plate over the bolt and replace the nut.
Put it on backwards.
Now just a quick bit of preparation for the Stage 5 shocks. The good thing about these is that they already come with a protector for the shaft. So we'll fit that up before we go to the bike. This bit's really simple. All you do is take the plastic protector, place it over these 3 holes, and then fit the 3 Allen head bolts. So once you've done that, just roll the shock over and put the locking bolt in place. We won't tighten this one up too much. We'll do that once it's on the bike and we've located the shock guard in the correct place. First thing we do when we get to the bike is a bit of disassembly. So we take the wheel off first. Pull the split pins out of the tie rod ends. And undo the tie rod end, making sure you hang on to the lower part with another spanner. And these shafts aren't tapered, so they should just pull straight out. Then undo the other end as well and pull that tie rod out. Next we take the brake caliper off. Pull the split pins out of the ball joints on the ends of the A-arms. Then back the crown nuts off until the thread is equal with the top of the crown nut. Then take a tie rod tool and pop the tie rods out. Make sure you hang on to the tool because when it lets go, it could go flying. And this is why we leave the nut on before we do it. We don't want to damage the end of the thread. Then remove the nuts and remove the spindle. Now that the spindle's gone, we can remove the retainers for the brake lines. Because these A-arms are only 3/4 of an inch wider and the Honda brake lines are fairly long already, we don't need to replace the lines. Now we can remove the 2 top bolts on the top A-arm. And remove the top A-arm. Then remove the shock. And finally, remove the bottom A-arm. Now for the install. Spray something like a CRC white lithium grease on the bolts. Then fit the lower A-arm in place. Then fit the top A-arm the same way. Remember the CRC white lithium grease on the bolts. Once both A-arms are in place, tighten up all the bolts. Then we fit the Elka Stage 5 shock. We use the original top nut and bolt, but for the lower section we use a bolt and nut provided by Hauser. Next, fit the standard spindle back into place. And tighten up the nuts. Remove the tie rod ends and nuts off of the standard tie rods. Then fit them onto the new Hauser tie rods. Once started, be sure you count how many turns you do of the tie rod end, making sure both ends are even. In this case we did about 10 turns. Fit the tie rod end and the nut onto the steering stem. And then fit the other end of the tie rod. Then tighten both ends. You'll need to hold the bottom of the tie rod end with another spanner to stop it spinning. Adjust the handlebars so they're nice and straight. Then you can adjust the tie rod by twisting it to make sure the spindle's nice and straight as well. Next we refit the brake caliper, making sure to put some thread locker on the bolts. Zip tie the brake lines onto the top A-arm, making sure you do so on the rubber supports. Then fit your wheel using the standard nuts. Check that your bars are straight again. Adjust the tie rod so you can see by eye that the wheel is straight with the back wheel. Adjust and tighten the ball joint in the upper slide cast cam. Once you've adjusted the upper ball joint, you'll probably need to adjust the toe in again. Pop the bike back on the ground and you can use a square to adjust the camber. Once the machine's back on the ground, you can make any adjustments you need to the top ball joint and then make the corresponding adjustments to the tie rods. Put all of your split pins back in and remember to grease the nipples as well. And the final job is to bolt the front bumper back on, which we moved out of the way just to give us some room. And that's it, job's done. You can go out and enjoy it.